Cracker Barrel, rarely the destination, almost always on the way. Pit stops seldom bring as much relief as a location with a rocking chair and pancakes. Any destination that can seamlessly combine the two must be treasured, must be ingrained within folklore. Full stop. Period. A general store come meatloaf safe space. The monotonous car ride of 1 minute ago gives way to an eclectic mix of items both new and old. Very old. So old you might briefly question what century you're in. You were driving fairly quickly after all. The door opening catches your eye. You're half expecting it to be George Washington. It isn't. It's an elderly lady from Florida. Good job, you think to yourself. Nobody would have believed that you went back in time and had breakfast with Washington, no matter how good the bacon is. The presidential-looking Dan Evans first had the idea for what would become the Cracker Barrel that is known today in the late 1960s. Evans' family was already in the gasoline business when Dan Evans, then in his early 30s, began to notice what was on offer for travelling customers. At the time, it was a rapid rise of fast food that was springing up particularly along the burgeoning interstates and highways that was connecting much of America at the time. With the booming car culture and the continental freedom that this brought, the infrastructure was in a rush to keep up. Money was there for the taking. Dan Evans could see the potential. One option would have been to jump on the fast food bandwagon, but jumping onto any wagon or moving vehicle isn't without hazard. What Evans had in mind was something more upmarket, more homely and of the southern variety. In fact, he said, fast food might be a good business idea, but it sure wasn't such a hot eating idea. With this shot across the bow, or rather barrel, aimed at the inferior quality of the competition, and a plot of land that the Evans company already owned, located on Highway 109 on the outskirts of Lebanon, Tennessee. Dan Evans enlisting the help of a friend who was a building contractor, his friend probably wishing that he'd never mentioned what he did for a living when he learned that he was now tasked with building a restaurant-stroke-museum, set about building his vision for not only a restaurant that served quality home-style food typical of the South, but also the combination of a general country store, much like the places he knew growing up as a child. The newly built doors were opened on the 19th of September 1969. According to Cracker Barrel, it was an immediate success. Much of the early investment for the restaurant had come from the local community, largely friends of Evans himself. With a little taste of success and the potential for more locations, the road from Tennessee to Georgia would see 13 Cracker Barrels open by 1977. One glitch along the way came in the form of the oil crisis in the mid-1970s. The early stores also sold gasoline, which was where the idea came from after all. But from then on, new locations would open up without the gasoline pumps, and gasoline would eventually be phased out from Cracker Barrel altogether. Cracker Barrel has looked to expansion through company-owned stores rather than selling franchise deals en masse. While not uncommon for restaurant chains of a similar size, it is beneficial for consistency purposes. Cracker Barrel does have one of the more unique identities in the restaurant company store business, and the fact that the business model is multifaceted potentially makes the idea of franchising that little bit more complicated. Cracker Barrel is oddly a somewhat clone yet also curated experience, and has been for many years, but the one thing that you can rely on is that Cracker Barrel will never change. In 2020, Cracker Barrel announced that Gilbert Davila would be elected to the company's board of directors. Mr. Davila founded a leading strategic multicultural marketing, diversity and inclusion firm. While I feel the old guy in the rocking chair's days might soon be numbered, it is important to highlight that Cracker Barrel has had a previous controversy that was well publicized, along the lines of a recruitment policy in the early 1990s that discriminated against gay people, resulting in a new policy being implemented. A move towards inclusivity will surely be a good thing for everyone involved with Cracker Barrel, especially if you are, for example, a waitress with 11 years of service and you find yourself unceremoniously terminated with very little answers, leaving your husband Brad dumbfounded. Of course, for those unfamiliar with internet memes, I'm referring to the Justice for Brad's Wife meme that, much to the chagrin of Cracker Barrel, began building momentum at an alarming rate. The story goes that a chap named Bradley Reed Bird, incensed at the dismissal of his wife Nanette after 11 years of service at Cracker Barrel no less, would take to Facebook in search of answers, and the internet would soon join in. After asking in a Facebook post aimed at Cracker Barrel, Brad, of Justice for Brad's Wife fame, asked the question why his wife had lost her retail manager job at an Indiana Cracker Barrel, and encouraged people to also ask the company. The internet obliged, big time. Cracker Barrel decided the best thing to do in such a situation, and a common PR strategy was to do nothing. Now, when I say a common PR strategy, what I should have probably said was a common PR strategy before the internet was invented, when a handful of newspapers would be frothing at the mouth to get the story for a day or two until they move on to something else, usually involving a celebrity or a war. Cracker Barrel didn't read between the lines. Bradley Reed Bird simply wanted some answers. The internet does too. It's not hard to see how memories can be made, and long family road trips can be made better with a stop at Cracker Barrel. The real historic artifacts from a time long ago are surely just as memorable as an adult as they were as a child. A template of similar styled pictures and props to make a restaurant the same from one to the next is common in other places, but Cracker Barrel is like a museum of old Americana, worth a visit regardless. The company would actively go out looking for antiques and memorabilia to furnish the hundreds of country store restaurants, but according to an article from the Tennessean in 2013, a lot of the items now get sent to Cracker Barrel. There is also 5 mainstays that are found in every Cracker Barrel: shotgun, cook stove, deer head, traffic signal, and an old telephone. A huge inventory warehouse makes up part of the 90-acre Lebanon headquarters. Items that arrive are classified, cleaned, restored, and prepared for shipment to stores. This must make Cracker Barrel one of the most difficult restaurant chains to value. The inventory alone must go up every year, and some items could be worth a small fortune. Valuation and ownership of Cracker Barrel has created conflict in recent times. The board of directors has been at odds with the largest shareholder, Biglari Holdings. Sardar Biglari, a billionaire hedge fund operator and owner of Steak 'n Shake, has had a running battle with the board of Cracker Barrel. He has allegedly been trying to position himself or a proxy on the board for the best part of a decade. The board is having none of it. If you hope that Cracker Barrel board meetings were held on the front porch in a circle of rocking chairs, as I did, it appears not. Some questioned how Biglari runs Steak 'n Shake, accusing him of not running the company to the benefit of the shareholders, with an example that when Biglari took over Steak 'n Shake, the ownership was renamed Biglari Holdings, and then the restaurant had to pay him royalties for lending his name to the chain. Billionaires are going to be billionairing. Hostility isn't one way. Biglari was apparently no fan of Cracker Barrel's investment in the restaurant chain Punch Bowl Social, a restaurant that incorporates entertainment like karaoke, bowling, arcades, etc. He's quoted as saying it was unconscionable that an astonishing 50% of Cracker Barrel's 2019 pre-tax earnings were destroyed by this single investment. Not a happy bunny then. How does Cracker Barrel stay relevant? A move away from the road might offer Cracker Barrel new opportunities for growth in addition to the roadside stores that form the primary growth strategy. In 2020, Cracker Barrel for the first time added some alcoholic beverages permanently to its drinks menu. This introduction of adult beverages may be a sign that the company might see the potential in not being merely a pit stop, but a destination restaurant with regular customers. This is logical after all. If you like what Cracker Barrel has to offer, then why not go more often, and not just when you need to stop on a road trip? While this has always been an option if one is near where you live, having locations that are in more of a built-up area that are easily accessible from where you live could encourage more repeat custom from loyal customers, and now you can have a beer when you go too. Something else that is worth noting is that changing too much in order to be relevant to try and open up new markets. Cracker Barrel could be its own worst enemy. It has a formula that stands out, worth preserving. More of the same. Loyal customers might be put off. Imagine walking into a Cracker Barrel one day and not seeing a deer head or an antique shotgun. Oh dear. You'd wonder what on earth was going on. While time travel may or may not be possible, the next best thing might be a stop at Cracker Barrel. Sometimes old is new. You never know what you might find. You also never know who might walk through the door, but more likely. All things Cracker Barrel. Let me know. Thanks for watching.